What's good? What's good? Grooming children is not good. Let's just get that out of the way. If you've read the title of this video, the left's problem with groomers, I believe, is not a hyperbolic statement. And I don't just believe that because we're having to endure things like drag queen story hour for children, and then all of these pride parades with naked people doing sexual things in front of children. Yes, that is a contributing factor to the overall case of the left's problem with groomers, but it goes much deeper than that. I just want to highlight real quick, Alex Rosen, also known as Gordon Flowers, runs some YouTube channels and Rumble, and he works with people and they confront child predators, people who have been convicted or who have displayed intention literally through the use of decoys and whatnot, and he confronts them and often tries to get them arrested, which, yes, awesome. Thank you, Alex. We need more, and that's like a huge genre on YouTube. I didn't know that, but there is a problem, I believe. And it's not just embedded within the left. I will totally agree with you that the church also has a groomer problem. But today I just want to talk about the left. Specifically, Alex recently caught someone who was the head of the LGBTQ Maryland branch or whatever. So someone within the activist community in a position of power was caught trying to meet a 14-year-old for illegal activities. And now, when somebody posted that on the Maryland Reddit page, so I don't do Reddit, but I have a vague idea of how it works. It's like r Reddit / and then like a topic, and then there's like subtopics and communication conversation. People on that Reddit were outright saying they intend to censor comments and to close the discussion around the subject. They deleted the video once, and then I think they left it up, and then they're saying we're just going to censor it, and they're going to not address it. And that's the thing, they're not going to address it. Or they're doing the whole, if he is guilty, then we disavow. But they don't. They don't. This has been going on for literally decades. We can go back to the 50s and 60s, where I do believe it really started to take off, specifically kind of in that third wave feminism era in conjunction with postmodern philosophy. So I have talked about a few times Michel Foucault, who was a notorious degenerate. And I'm sex positive. If everyone is consenting and everything is safe, cool, do it. But children cannot consent. And when you disclose the fact that you may or may not have HIV/AIDS, or you do not disclose that fact, that's not consensual. You are, that's messed up. He's accused of doing that, allegedly, just sharing his sickness without telling people. But he's not the only name, and I do intend to do some readings of his. I'm about to leave my job, and so I'm going to have more free time, but I'm going to need to make more money, so I'm going to have to do more gig work. But I've been working really hard the last 6 months to pay down some debt, so I don't have to work as hard just to maintain. And so I'm going to just try to work less and just maintain, because I'm burnt the F out. Working retail and then gig work for the last 6 months, hustling, is tiring. Did somebody just hit me? No. Okay. So I'm going to do some reading. I'm not just going to keep name dropping Foucault, but let me just name drop two other names real quick. Judith Butler and Pat Khalifa. Go look into those names and go look into how they discuss how we should introduce sex and sexuality to children. It's gross. It is gross in my opinion. And so for decades, the left, and let me be a little more specific, here's the left. There's a very small segment of the left, the loud, obnoxious activist segment, that is actually pushing this stuff. The problem is, the normie side of the left, they do not push back enough against the extremes of the radical left. Because overall, they think they need those people to move the wheel. They need that loudness and that aggression and that brashness. So that is why the normie side of the left often is very slow to address issues within their group. And it's funny because like the normie side of the left will often, whatever, kind of own the radical side. They'll say, yeah, we're allies. And a lot of the radical side of the left doesn't like the normie side of the left. It's funny. Similar things can be said about the right, but I think it's more apparent on the left right now. And so these people would discuss things like the dissolution of boundaries. That's a huge thing within postmodernist thinkers, is that these boundaries constructed by modernity are inhibiting to the experience of the individual. Boundaries like age. So when you begin to dissolve boundaries and provide true freedom for all people of all ages, blah, 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 that's partially how they justify their interest in pedophilia. And again, this is the small segment I'm talking about, but because the overall larger segment is not aware fully of the depths of the intellectual origins of their movement and of their allies, they're ignorant, they are naive. But they need to wake up, and that's why I need to be better about doing readings. And so that's going to be my goal for this summer, is to find you readings from their texts specifically saying this. Judith Butler, Michel Foucault, Pat Khalifa, and those are just the three big names that I can think of right now. Three big names that I will be doing some readings on. But until the normie left wakes up and realizes that the radical left is not actually their friend, we're kind of screwed. That's a huge culture war driving factor, I believe. It's really hot. I'm sorry. I'm sweating. Okay. So all of this trans nonsense, all of this DEI equity nonsense, first comes from the social engineers who are manipulating the small segment on the left, who then sort of capture the overall larger left and then move the Overton window. So that's how the cycle flows. I really like that. I'm going to do that again and try to wrap up the video there. This is how propaganda and social engineering works. The people up here will target a small group here to influence the larger group peripheral to them to then shift the whole window. And that is how social manipulation on a large scale happens. That is why we have so many freaking groomers right now. But when, your president likes to shower with his 11-year-old daughter, what do you expect? Shit rolls downhill. If you have an evil leader, it will roll downhill. If you have a good leader, it will roll downhill. And for the last several hundred years, we have not had very many good leaders up here. We've had a lot of bad leaders because we're playing a game that has not fully been revealed yet, but we're working on revealing it, and we're working on dismantling it. It's going to take time. And that's why if you're a normie Democrat, left-leaning person, you need to wake up to how radical your perceived allies are on the far left. You have more in common with center-right people than you do with far-left people, if you are truly a normie average Democrat. Keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind, please. All right, it's hot as shit. Much love.